At 2:14 in the morning, he opened his phone again. No notifications, not unusual. But tonight, it felt heavier. The apartment was silent, the kind of silence that slowly becomes part of you. Outside, rain tapped softly against the window. Cars passed occasionally, distant, muted. He stared at the screen for a few more seconds, then locked it. Again. He walked to the kitchen barefoot, opened the fridge, looked inside without really seeing anything, closed it. He wasn't hungry. He just didn't know what else to do. That had become normal lately, doing things without knowing why. A few years earlier, his life looked different. Not perfect, but alive. There were plans back then. Energy. People around him. Conversations that lasted until 3 a.m. Now, everything felt quieter, smaller, further away. The strange thing was, nobody noticed the change. At work, he still smiled, still replied politely, still asked people how their weekend was, and because he functioned normally, everyone assumed he was fine. That's the dangerous thing about slow emotional collapse. It doesn't look dramatic. It looks like someone slowly disappearing while still showing up every day. He sat back down on the couch. The TV played quietly in the background. Some random show he wasn't really watching. His mind drifted again, like it always did at night. He started thinking about the last time someone genuinely asked him if he was okay. He couldn't remember. Not really. People asked casually sometimes, "How are you?" But nobody waited long enough to hear the real answer. And eventually, he stopped wanting to give it. Because explaining emptiness is exhausting. How do you explain that you don't feel sad exactly, just disconnected from your own life? How do you explain that even good moments feel distant now? That laughter feels shorter, excitement weaker, days blur together? Most people can't explain that. So instead, they say, "I'm just tired." That's what he said too. Tired, busy, stressed. It was easier than telling the truth. The truth was harder. The truth was, he no longer recognized himself anymore. Not physically, internally. Somewhere over the years, he stopped feeling emotionally present in his own life. And the scary part? He didn't know exactly when it happened. That's how these things happen sometimes. Not suddenly. Quietly. A little more isolation. A little less excitement. A little more overthinking. A little less connection. Until eventually, you wake up feeling like a stranger to yourself. He rubbed his eyes. Looked around the apartment. Laundry in the corner. Half-empty coffee cups. A hoodie hanging over the chair for days. The room looked lived in, but not alive. That thought hit him unexpectedly. Not alive. He used to feel things deeply. Music, movies, people, dreams. Now most things felt emotionally flat, and he hated admitting that to himself. Because somewhere deep down, he feared this was simply who he had become. Someone surviving life instead of living it. The clock read 2:47 a.m. now. He picked up his phone again, opened social media, scrolled aimlessly. People smiling, traveling, getting engaged, buying homes, celebrating birthdays. Everyone looked connected to something. Meanwhile, he felt like he was watching life through glass, present physically, absent emotionally. And the worst part? He couldn't even explain why. Nothing catastrophic had happened. No dramatic breakdown. No huge tragedy. Just years of emotional neglect toward himself. Years of pushing feelings down. Staying distracted. Avoiding difficult thoughts. Staying busy enough to never fully confront the emptiness underneath. But nighttime removes distractions. That's why lonely thoughts get louder after midnight. There's nothing left to outrun yourself with. No noise, no tasks, no performance. Just you and the parts of yourself you keep avoiding during the day. He stood up again, walked toward the bathroom mirror, looked at himself for a moment. It felt strange, not because he disliked himself, but because he felt disconnected from the person staring back, like he was looking at someone he used to know better. That moment scared him more than sadness ever did, because sadness still feels alive. Numbness doesn't. Numbness feels like becoming emotionally invisible to yourself. And once people reach that point, they often stop asking for help. Not because they want to disappear, but because they no longer know how to explain what's wrong. He splashed water on his face, looked down at the sink, and quietly, for the first time in months, he admitted something honestly to himself. He wasn't okay. Not tired, not stressed, not just busy, lonely, disconnected, emotionally exhausted, and strangely, admitting it felt less painful than hiding from it. Because denial is exhausting too. Pretending drains people slowly, especially pretending to yourself. He walked back to the couch, turned the TV off this time. The silence returned immediately. But something felt slightly different now. Not fixed, not healed, just honest. And honesty changes things. Because healing rarely starts with motivation. It usually starts with recognition. The moment someone finally stops saying, "I'm fine," and admits, "Something inside me has been hurting for a long time," that moment matters. Because awareness interrupts autopilot. And autopilot is where many people emotionally disappear. Days become routines. Routines become years. And eventually, people wake up feeling disconnected from their own existence. Not because they're weak, but because humans were never designed to live without emotional connection, including connection to themselves. The rain outside became softer now. 3:18 a.m. He looked around the apartment one more time. Still the same room, same silence, same life. But internally, something small had shifted. For the first time in a long time, he stopped running from the feeling. And maybe that's where people begin returning to themselves. Not in dramatic moments, not in motivational speeches, but quietly, alone at night, finally telling themselves the truth. If this story resonated with you, remember this: some people are not loudly falling apart. They are quietly disconnecting from themselves, while everyone around them assumes they're fine. And sometimes, the first step toward healing is simply admitting, "I haven't felt like myself for a very long time."